Mel Brooks was one of the funniest people in the world. Well, Mel, it's better to be one of your subjects because you have made your subjects laugh. I hail to you, King Kaminsky.
What if I told you that one of Hollywood's greatest comedy directors had a secret weapon? Not a camera trick, not a special effect, but 7 specific actors who could turn his wildest, most ridiculous ideas into comedy gold. Mel Brooks didn't just make movies, he created controlled chaos. And these 7 performers weren't just his cast. They were his partners in comedic crime. But here's what nobody talks about. Working with Brooks wasn't just about delivering lines. It was about surviving his directing style, handling his legendary perfectionism, and somehow making sense of scripts that studios called unfilmable. By the end of this video, you'll understand why these 7 actors became Brooks' inner circle, and how their behind-the-scenes relationships created some of the most quotable moments in film history. Mel Brooks revolutionized comedy by breaking every rule Hollywood had with creating Blazing Saddles, Young Frankenstein, and The Producers. These weren't just successful films, they were cultural earthquakes that studios initially refused to touch. But Brooks had a problem. His vision was so outrageous, so boundary-pushing that he needed actors who could match his energy and fearlessness. Not just talented performers, he needed collaborators who understood that great comedy requires absolute commitment to the absurd. What he found was something rarer. A group of actors who didn't just work for him, they worked with him. And the stories of how these relationships formed, they're wilder than anything that made it to screen. Number 1, Gene Wilder. Let's start with the most important relationship in Brooks' career, Gene Wilder. But the story of how they became comedy legends isn't what you think. Brooks didn't just see Wilder as a funny actor, he saw something deeper. Brooks famously described Wilder as a combination of sweetness, sadness, and comedy you couldn't get from anybody else, a cello, beautiful and deep. That's not typical director talk. That's a man describing his creative soulmate. Picture this. Brooks has just secured funding for The Producers, his first film as a director. Instead of calling Wilder's agent or scheduling a meeting, Brooks shows up unannounced at Wilder's dressing room with the script. Wilder opens the door, sees Brooks standing there with this thick manuscript, and before Brooks can even explain what it is, Wilder starts reading. Right there in the doorway. By page 10, Wilder is crying, not just tearing up, full-on sobbing with joy. Brooks, this tough Brooklyn comedian who spent years fighting for this moment, has to console his leading man before they've even started filming. That's when Brooks knew they had something special. Most actors read scripts looking for problems, for reasons to say no. Wilder read The Producers and saw pure possibility. But here's the part that shows their true partnership. Young Frankenstein wasn't Brooks' idea. During the filming of Blazing Saddles, Wilder approached Brooks with this crazy concept about a descendant of the famous monster maker. Most directors would have said, "Thanks, but I've got my own projects." Brooks invited Wilder to co-write it. Think about that. Brooks, at the height of his career, handed creative control to his actor. That's not just trust, that's recognition that Wilder understood Brooks' comedic vision better than anyone else in Hollywood. The result? Young Frankenstein became one of the greatest comedies ever made. And it happened because Brooks understood that the best collaborations aren't about control, they're about finding someone who makes your ideas better. Number 2, MADELINE KAHN. If Wilder was Brooks' emotional center, MADELINE KAHN was his secret weapon for pure, unbridled audacity. Brooks called KAHN a fountain, a spraying fountain of talent, though he lovingly joked that she sometimes turned it up so loud nobody could understand her. The audition story for Blazing Saddles is legendary, but the real version is even better than the myth. KAHN walks into the audition for Lily von Stupp, the saloon singer with the ridiculous German accent. Brooks doesn't just hand her the script, he gives her a challenge that would terrify most actresses. "I want you to channel Marlene Dietrich," he tells her, "but I want you to straddle this chair while you do it." Now, understand what he's asking. Dietrich was sophisticated, elegant, mysterious. Brooks wants KAHN to take that sophistication and make it completely ridiculous while maintaining the essence of what made Dietrich magnetic. Most actresses would have walked out. KAHN straddled the chair and delivered a performance so perfect that Brooks knew immediately she was going to steal every scene she was in. But here's what made their partnership special. Brooks didn't want KAHN to tone it down. While other directors might have worried about her overwhelming other actors, Brooks built entire scenes around her ability to command attention. The "I'm tired" number in Blazing Saddles wasn't just a comedy bit, it was Brooks showcasing KAHN's fearless commitment to the absurd. She's playing a character who's supposed to be a terrible singer and a seductress, but KAHN commits so completely that you forget how ridiculous the premise is. That's the Brooks philosophy in action. If you're going to be ridiculous, be magnificently ridiculous. Number 3. Zero MOSTEL. Zero MOSTEL was Mel Brooks' first leading man, and their relationship set the template for every collaboration that followed. Brooks needed someone who could embody the outrageous energy of Max Bialystock, the failed Broadway producer who would do anything for a hit. MOSTEL didn't just play the character, he became a force of nature. But here's the story that reveals their dynamic. MOSTEL was the one who physically ushered Gene Wilder into the production, not metaphorically, literally. He grabbed Wilder, introduced him to Brooks, and insisted they work together. Most leading actors would see a talented newcomer as competition. MOSTEL saw Wilder as the perfect comedic partner, someone who could match his energy while providing the neurotic contrast that would make both characters funnier. Brooks recognized this generosity and built it into the film. The relationship between Max and Leo isn't just about a con man and his accountant. It's about two performers who genuinely enjoy making each other look good. That chemistry launched the producers from a weird little independent film into cult status. Audiences could see that these actors weren't just delivering lines, they were having genuine fun together. Brooks learned something crucial from working with MOSTEL. The best comedy comes from actors who are more interested in making the scene work than in making themselves look good. Number 4. Carl Reiner. Carl Reiner wasn't just one of Brooks' favourite actors. He was his creative partner for over 70 years. Their collaboration created one of comedy's most enduring duos, the 2,000-year-old man routines. Brooks called Reiner the best straight man in the world. But that undersells their relationship. Reiner wasn't just feeding Brooks lines, he was creating the framework that allowed Brooks' improvisational genius to shine. Here's how their process worked. Reiner would ask questions as an interviewer, and Brooks would respond as the 2,000-year-old man. But Reiner's questions weren't random. They were carefully crafted to set up Brooks for maximum comedic impact. The genius was in Reiner's restraint. He could have tried to be funny himself, but he understood that his job was to make Brooks funnier. That takes incredible ego control and comedic intelligence. Their rapport was legendary. They had private jokes, nightly dinners, and improvised routines that revitalized comedy. But more importantly, they had complete trust in each other's instincts. When Brooks moved into filmmaking, he carried this lesson with him. The best collaborations happen when everyone understands their role and commits to making the whole greater than the sum of its parts. Number 5. Harvey Korman. Harvey Korman represented something Brooks desperately needed, an actor who required no direction. Brooks called Korman a pillar that supported the entire show, referring to his work on The Carol Burnett Show. But what Brooks really admired was Korman's ability to absorb his roles instinctively. Most actors need extensive direction, multiple takes, constant adjustment. Korman would read the script once, understand the character completely, and deliver exactly what the scene needed. But here's what made Korman special. His professionalism never killed the spontaneity. He could hit his marks, deliver his lines perfectly, and still be open to the unexpected moments that make comedy magical. Brooks recognized this rare combination and used it strategically. In scenes with more unpredictable actors like Marty Feldman or Gene Wilder, Korman became the steady center that allowed everyone else to take risks. That's sophisticated directing. Brooks understood that comedy ensembles need different types of performers, and Korman's reliability freed other actors to be more experimental. Number 6. CLORIS LEACHMAN. Cloris Leachman brought something to Brooks' films that no one else could: complete fearlessness in the face of absurdity. During the filming of High Anxiety, Leachman introduced her character Nurse Diesel with such an exaggerated German accent and comedic presence that Brooks later admitted, "Cloris was so in character I had no idea what she was saying, but I loved it." That's the perfect Brooks anecdote. Most directors would have asked her to tone it down to make the dialogue clearer. Brooks embraced the chaos because he understood that clarity isn't always the goal in comedy. Leachman's all-or-nothing style matched Brooks' directing philosophy perfectly. She never held back, never played it safe, never worried about looking foolish. She understood that great comedy requires complete commitment to the bit, even when the bit is completely insane. Brooks created an environment where this fearlessness could flourish. He gave Leachman permission to go too far, knowing that too far was exactly where the best laughs lived. Number 7. Marty Feldman. Marty Feldman was Brooks' most visually distinctive collaborator, and their partnership proved that great comedy often comes from embracing what makes you different. Feldman's distinctive eyes and manic energy made him perfect for Brooks' madcap vision. But it wasn't just about his appearance, it was about his fearless approach to physical comedy. In Young Frankenstein, Feldman's Igor often stole scenes with unconventional timing and pure absurdity. Brooks described him as the mad scientist cartoon he loved building around. But here's what made Feldman special: his physical comedy never felt cruel or mocking. Despite playing grotesque characters, there was something lovable about his performances. He found humanity in the absurd. Brooks recognized this rare gift and wrote roles specifically designed to showcase it. Feldman's characters were never just comic relief. They were essential parts of the story, bringing heart to even the most ridiculous situations. Here's what all these relationships reveal about Mel Brooks as a director. He understood that great comedy is like a symphony. Each performer brings a different instrument, and the magic happens when they all play together. Gene Wilder gave him heart and pathos. MADELINE KAHN gave him edgy spontaneity. Zero Mostel gave him egomaniacal bravado. REINER was the straight man who made Brooks shine. CLORIS brought fearless chaos. KORMAN brought effortless charm. MARTY FELDMAN brought physical absurdity. Working with any of them felt like a comedic symphony. Brooks orchestrated, and they hit every note. But the real secret wasn't just casting great actors. It was creating an environment where these wildly different personalities could support each other, where Gene Wilder's neurosis could play against Harvey Korman's professionalism, where MADELINE KAHN's boldness could contrast with REINER's restraint. Brooks didn't just direct these actors, he conducted them, understanding that the best comedy comes from the spaces between the notes, the moments when performers surprise each other and themselves. These 7 actors didn't just work for Mel Brooks, they helped him create a new language of comedy. They proved that the best laughs come not from playing it safe, but from fearless commitment to the absurd, supported by collaborators who understand that everyone succeeds when the whole production succeeds. The next time you watch a Brooks film, pay attention to how these actors support each other. Notice how their different energies create a perfect comedic ecosystem where every personality has space to shine. That's the real secret of Brooks' success. He understood that comedy is a team sport, and the best teams are made up of players who make each other better. If you want to dive deeper into the chaos behind Hollywood's greatest comedies, check out my video on the feuds that almost destroyed classic movies. You'll discover how some of cinema's most beloved films were nearly destroyed by the very personalities that made them great. Which of these 7 collaborators do you think was most essential to Brooks' success? Let me know in the comments below.